because you watched it last. Welcome to Always Be Reading. I'm Chantel, and I am so excited to be here tonight with another episode of Books with Friends. And I'm really excited because I am being joined tonight by my friend Sean Campbell to talk about Toni Morrison's Beloved. Now, if you remember the last time Sean was with me, we actually discussed the very second book of the Beloved trilogy. We read it kind of out of order. But it was such a great conversation that we decided we were going to read Beloved and he was going to come back. And so that is exactly what we are here for tonight, to talk about Beloved. If you are new to this channel, welcome. This is a space where we read, reflect, and we talk about books that help shape our lives and also help us understand the world around us. And if you've been here before, welcome back, friend. You know that this is a space where great stories spark great conversations. Now, Beloved is one of those stories that is great, and it needs to be talked about. That's how I feel about it after reading it. Toni Morrison, a literary icon, a Nobel Prize-winning and writing author. She just has a way, I think, of writing stories that stay with you well beyond the close of the book. And Beloved is one of those stories. It was published in 1987 and was inspired in part by a true story of a woman named Margaret Garner, an enslaved woman who did a desperate act to save her children. Now, the novel explores love. It explores memory and the haunting effects that slavery has. And it does so in a way that's both heartbreaking, beautiful, and also unforgettable. Beloved to me is an American classic, and for very good reasons. It won the Pulitzer Prize in 1988. It stayed on the bestsellers list of the New York Times for months, and it is consistently read across the globe. Beloved invites you to feel deeply, to think critically, and most importantly, I think that it invites us to remember. So, we want you to participate in tonight's conversation. You can do so by leaving your questions, your comments, and your thoughts in the comment section below. And I also want to just give a big spoiler warning that we are going to talk about anything and everything and all the stuff in between. So if you have not read Beloved and you do not want to be spoiled, this is your time to hit pause, go read Beloved, and then come back and join in the conversation. And also, before we get started, I also just want to encourage you guys to help this channel grow by liking it, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell so that you never miss a video. And now I'm ready to officially welcome Sean, and so that we can hop on into this conversation. How are you, my
friend? Thanks so much. I'm so glad to be here again, Chantel. And I'm hoping you're loving this Toni Morrison as much as I am.
And we're going to talk about that.
That was an amazing introduction, by the way. And I would add the one thing that we see, unfortunate, that it's also banned. With all of the accolades, it gets banned, right? And it's like, how can you possibly ban that? But actually, I kind of say so.
Yes. I'm glad that you pointed that out. Alex Villasante was on. I think it was a couple of weeks ago to talk about her novel, her YA novel, Fire Blooms, and we talked about we got into a conversation about banned books, And I loved what she said, because I hadn't heard it said like that, where she said, banning books is criminal. It's a criminal act.
It
And
is.
like, you are so right. So yeah, I'm glad that you pointed that out, that it is on the banned list, and it
Mhm.
shouldn't be. And I just hope that the list of banned books, it has the opposite effect, where it really inspires people to read it. That's what my
Exactly.
hope is. That it's
Exactly.
like, oh, you're a banned book, I must read you. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I must gift you. That kind of thing. So
Where to begin? Where to begin?
I have papers and papers of questions and comments and stuff. I don't even know, Sean, where to begin with this. I
How
do.
about maybe the
Okay.
obvious that this is a novel that explores an enslaved woman and tells her story. We
Yeah.
hear a lot of stories about enslaved men and the brutality, maybe because we can take that a little bit more. Like you can,
Yeah.
oh yeah, the man got beaten, that's what guys do, But now when you have a woman who is, yeah, wow,
Wow.
just wow. Just saying that, it was just so much to have the woman front and center. I think brings the story alive in ways that touch me differently each time.
Yeah.
I think this time around, what I was most struck by, I don't know how I missed it all these other times, is that Sethe was married at 14. And when she was going through this, she's 19, 19 years old. Is that about the age of your daughter? Okay, to put
That's
it
why
in context.
that's why I'm like, when you say that, it just
Mhm.
touched me in a different way. I'm glad that you started with, this is a story that's focused on a woman and on women
Mhm.
and their experience. And I was reading the foreword that was in the book, kind of, that Morrison wrote, and she's describing like how she came, what inspired this story.
Mhm.
And she said, I think now it was the shock of liberation that drew my thoughts to what free could possibly mean to women.
Ah.
And she also said that this woman, what she was really drawn to when she read the story, and what was really shocking, was that she was sane and had a lack of repentance with her actions, that it was sane. It was a sane choice that
Mhm.
she made. And it was sanity, and that was encased in desperation, right? Um, and so I think that Morrison did a really good job of centering women and centering female relationships of
Mhm. Mhm.
mothers and of daughters,
Mhm.
in a way that, you're right, we haven't seen it, centered like that, in the way of that before. And one of the things that just uh I have some, I'm still sorting out my feelings.
Okay.
Okay. That's where I am.
That's what this novel does. You were
Okay.
sorting out for years, I'm sure. Go ahead.
Okay. So remember when so Beloved was the one that I started, and I didn't I started
Mhm.
it and I didn't read it, and then I didn't read anything else. Jazz. I'm glad you had me start with Jazz.
Mhm.
Jazz. I just love Jazz. Loved everything about it. Every single thing I loved about it. This book was different.
It hits
I
differently.
love the literariness.
Mhm.
I love how she wrote it. I love the fragmented, uh, way of how the narrative goes.
Mhm.
I'm a fan of the language and all of that. And I'm
Mhm.
like, but something is in my way,
Uh-huh.
and I'm still trying to figure out like what this is. It's kind of like, oh, this is a masterpiece, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But I'm not. I but how it's hitting me, is I'm struggling, and I'm wondering if if my struggle is almost like intentional. Like that's
Mhm.
what I'm wondering about, because it's not so much that it's like they're hard things. It's about, slavery and coming out of
Sure.
slavery, the legacy, just that it's a
Mhm.
hard terrain. But I think that, and I was talking this out with my husband the
Mhm.
other night, and I was like, I'm trying to sort through, I don't know what I'm going to say. I'm trying to like make sense of what is it that
Mhm.
I'm feeling. This is a great book, but it's almost like I'm stuck or something. And
Yeah.
I'm
You know what? Okay, so when I look at it, the language obviously is a draw. I mean,
mhm,
she takes the most brutal
yeah,
acts and tells them so beautifully that that is what haunts us, I think. And I
yeah,
think there's this undercurrent that you have a mother kill her child, right?
mhm,
To spare that child of the horrors of slavery.
right,
She's the only one who could do it. I think what gets me is that we have the neighborhood judger, right? When everyone leaves, but they leave right after the big cookout, the big
right,
meal where baby Suggs feeds them like the fish in the loaves, like Jesus, right?
right,
Um, she And so she locks herself in there. She judges herself to a degree. She feigns pride, but she is struggling there. But when Beloved comes back, she is the one who can judge, right?
mhm,
She is probably the only one who would be a fair judge. And even she loves her in a very toxic way. And of course, she's angry. She feels abandoned. But the love and the need to be loved, the idea that she left her and only her, when
mhm,
of course Sethe was trying to take them all there. That was the plan, but she was thwarted. Um, and I wonder if I hear people struggle with it. Like, do I like it? Do I hate it? What's going on? And I think each time I read it, I get to go just a little bit deeper, a little bit deeper. So I think one thing that struck me this time, in addition to her age, is the relationships so one thing I've noticed a lot are the trios. We see three people all together, like this trinity going through.
right,
So I'm looking at all the symbols and trying to make sense out of those. How 124 is spiteful in the beginning, and then in the very last 124 is quiet. you
yeah,
know and I'm trying to see these dichotomous relationship
yeah,
between everything, between the humans, between slavery and freedom, between freedom on paper but not really freedom, between the freedom to choose. Like
mhm,
it's so timely in the sense that are we are witnessing attacks on bodily autonomy of women, right? And then this is the most extreme um, manifestation of that. And I sympathize with her.
mhm.
As I was reading, I was like, I don't know that I would not make that same choice. I don't know that. And that
Right.
to me is worthy of pause. Like there's
Yeah.
something in you that would kill your child. That love, that to face yourself with that might be unsettling. I don't know.
Yeah, I totally it's one of these things where I'm like, this is a masterpiece.
Hmm.
It just is masterful, I think.
Hmm.
And just it's everything. And so when I think about it from my literary analysis
Hmm.
lens, I can dot 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 and break down, see all these things and all of that.
Hmm.
And all of it is there and it's worthy of that discussion,
Right.
but it's not the purpose of it.
Not
And
at
when
all.
I'm reading it as Chantel, as a Black woman, as a descendant of slavery, as a mother,
Mm-hmm.
as a mother who nursed 3 children. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
And I'm reading it. I under like what wasn't what I'm not stuck in her decision. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like I get it, and I'm not judging her. I think that what I where I think it is where I'm like I'm stuck. It's hard. It was hard for me to emotionally connect to the
Ah,
character.
okay.
I struggled with that. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, why am I not emotionally like connected to the character? And I wonder if that almost was intentional. I
Could
couldn't,
yeah.
like, that's part of it. Like, that is like, there is this, um, there is this understood, or there was this
Wow.
understood reality in
That is
slavery of the limitations of possibility of being able to fully connect, to fully give yourself, to know, oh, this child that I have, I'm going to be able to raise them and watch them grow. You know,
mhm.
it's kind of like from the beginning, maybe of when they felt them in the womb, it was like a detaching that had to go on.
Mhm.
And I think that that's what I was experiencing and
Mhm.
reading it.
Yeah, no,
I
that's a very interesting point, especially when I look at the emotional detachment of all the characters in the
Yeah,
book.
yeah,
Like that, I am all in for all of them. But
yes,
it's so interesting that you have that, and that's exactly what is mirrored. I'm not a mother either, so I have no clue what that is
right,
like. I'm not a father either, like
yeah.
no children. So it's a tragic story. It's
It
beautiful
is,
to me, but I can't really internalize it, right? And maybe that allows me to just get into this fantasy land almost. Um, but I think that that's a very interesting point. You said
I
you don't judge her.
I don't judge
Do
her.
you judge anyone in that book? That's one thing I'm wondering about.
I really
'Cause
don't judge anyone in that book. I don't even think, and this is another thing I think that was brilliant. I didn't even I didn't even have the space or invitation to judge.
mhm, mhm,
As I don't even, it's like it was so not about me and what I think. Like,
mhm,
and I felt like I was a witness,
mhm,
and I also felt like almost like, are you able to pass on this story, or do you
mhm.
just not or do you need to just forget it happened? You
Yeah,
know, like I
yes,
felt like
yeah.
there was um I couldn't judge it. I couldn't judge her. I I don't know what I would have done in that situation. I do know that it reminded me of W.E.B. Du Bois in his book The Souls of Black Folk has
Mhm,
a chapter, and it's on the passing of the firstborn.
mhm,
And I remember when I first read this, it was in
mhm.
I was in high school. And
Uh-huh.
this is the chapter that I remembered because it was so unsettling to me.
Mhm,
And he talked about, he said, as I pulled it, he says,
mhm.
all that day and all that night, there said an awful gladness in my heart. And he's talking about when his firstborn died.
Mhm,
Nay, blame me not if I see the world thus darkly through the veil. And yet, how can I help but remember that thou didst go out from us, not into the
mhm,
warm fold of life, but into the cold shadow of death. And I saw thee slip like a shadow into the great unknown. And because his son slipped into the shadow, he knew no color lines or
right, right.
and the veil, though it shadowed him, had not yet darkened half the sun. His little soul left like a star that travels in the night. His little soul is free.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I could not bring myself to call him back.
Ah,
For his going was like the going of the glory of the morning. And this that really, I remember that. And I remember feeling in my young, immature age,
Mhm.
how could a parent be glad about that? Like how,
Yeah,
like all of this judgment, you
right.
know, about it. And so when I was reading this book, I was reminded of that. And I'm like, no, I understand. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's a terrible thing to say you would understand
Yeah.
something like that. You know what
Well,
I'm saying?
that passage right there hit home to me, or highlighted to me the absence of color in the book.
Yeah.
So when we see Baby Suggs in the beginning pondering color, and she, of course, comes to her final conclusion. But when she's looking at blue, she's looking at yellow, little, lavender, chartreuse, whatever it is she wants. Um, and we see that color, especially the red beating heart, the red bird, that red going through. We know the symbolism of red, like I said,
Right.
in terms of literary
Yeah.
elements and scholarly studies. She hits every single note. But that passing, I can't remember exactly how Du
Yeah.
Bois says it, but that balance with, or that the difference between the color and the colorless.
Right.
And we
Yeah.
see that, and he doesn't want the child back. She does, and the
Right.
child comes back, and it's all turmoil. Like, it's almost like I shouldn't even say this, but like a pet cemetery, right? It's like
Yeah, it is.
you have to leave them there. Like,
Let
that's
the
the thing.
dead be buried with the dead. That's what
You cannot
that's what I
have
was
that
like.
back. You
Woo!
know,
Yes.
um,
Yes.
definitely not in the flesh. One thing that hit me often are some of the quotes.
Yes.
Now, yeah, like Amy, of course, in the woods when she's about to, um, I think she already has Denver then. No, she hasn't. She's just getting her to that shed, and she's massaging her feet. And she said, "This is gonna hurt. Anything dead coming back to life hurts."
That's
And
right.
I thought that that was such an amazing way
Yes.
to, like, the foreshadow in it,
Yes.
and to explain, or to warn that this is going to be painful. There's no way to escape the pain that even though she comes back, this is not going to be a good story. There's no way to make this horror good, right? And I think one other thing, if you remember towards the end of section 2, when She Is Mine, and we have Sethe talking about Beloved, and of
Yes.
course Denver, but when Beloved talks, She Is Mine, and that disjointed, like, poetic stream of consciousness thing going. That's where I was thinking. It was almost like Sinners, when the music thing, I don't know if you've seen
Yes.
that. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
wait a minute. I'm
Yes.
seeing some things here. But you're hearing Paul D in her experience, you're hearing obviously her own story, Sethe's, you're hearing the middle passage, and that just opened my eyes so much to, yes, this is a mother who took the daughter, but it's also a nation who
Yes. Yes.
destroyed its, fruit. And I think that was another thing that hit home. Like, before, I'd always read it about Sethe and Beloved, of course, Denver, but it was mother, child, not nation and slavery as a whole. I never had her as the embodiment of slavery until this time, when I really paid attention to that poetry section. So I think one of the things, even when you say as you deal, and I've read this several times, right? But I think I read it more deeply, and I read it also in one sitting yesterday, this time through. And
Woo!
that way, yeah, and that way, it was, I
Wow.
saw so much more in doing it that way, because I didn't have to, like, pick back up and try to remember what I was feeling. So while
Mhm.
it was a difficult time, it is a very
You're
difficult.
probably having all types of emotions. Like, let's leave Sean alone. He's in a place.
It is a
He's
very difficult
in
task
a
to do in one
place
sitting, but
reading
um,
Beloved.
that it didn't take very long either.
Yeah.
A work day, basically.
Yes.
But that was my Sunday, just in bed with Beloved preparing for this, and I got to go through the range of emotions as they were happening
Oh, that's
without
great.
placing a pause and letting my modern life get in the way and, take me away
Yeah.
from what was happening. I was there with them the entire time, and this was the first time that happened. So you might have to do it in one sitting.
I love that brought up what beloved what beloved symbolizes.
Hmm.
And you have this, the literal beloved, which is a daughter,
Hmm.
and a child also,
Yes.
and then there is, this beloved as a people, as many bodies, as embodying this whole
Absolutely.
kind of thing. um trauma
Hmm.
trauma and
Absolutely.
that also with Sethe and Amy, of
Hmm.
what they birth together.
Right.
This
Yes.
black woman and this white woman,
Hmm.
and
In the most unlikely of
in
places.
the most
Right.
unlikely of places and in the most unfortunate of circumstances,
Hmm.
and without any preparation, really. you know it was just, and what she had to carry, you
Hmm.
know and 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 and,
Right.
and then also how she was just a commodity
Hmm.
of taking down to her milk, which really just down to her, just totally just a commodity, just a body. And when we think about black bodies,
Hmm.
and we think about how there's so much taking,
Right.
physically, but there's so much taking in other ways, and also how her husband, how he witnessed it and couldn't do anything to stop it. That also right there, just what that broke in him and
Broke him.
them, it broke,
He
just
completely broke him. He lost it.
completely broke him.
Yeah.
And when you think about the ways in which um um the impact and the trauma that carries forward, I think she did a wonderful job, just a uh it's just almost like a spiritual, just such a grand job of being able to say, this is what happened to millions. This is what
Right.
happened to us, in way of looking specifically at them.
Hmm. Right.
And then I think that I have jazz on my mind. Um,
Hmm.
of course, I came out of jazz, so I'm thinking I'm
Right.
getting a whole different thing. And then I'm like, wait a second, what? Wait,
Right.
wait,
It's so
Sean.
different.
I was,
Like,
okay, so
how is this a trilogy again? Right.
right, I came in like pretty blind. I did not
Right.
refresh my memory about what Beloved was. I know I picked it up in like my early 20s. I set it down and I didn't think
Yeah.
about it. And so as I was thinking about jazz and Beloved and the connection
Hmm.
that they had, I was like, okay, um, you know, I was like, Beloved is almost like the bass line that
Hmm.
inspires the music of jazz.
Hmm. Ah, yes. Especially in
It's
the end when
the,
those women get
yes,
the singing and get the note just right.
yes, Beloved is this, like, it lays the ground. It's like jazz is what they're running towards, and you understand when you read Beloved, like they were Beloved, they were running out of slavery
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
into this place, you know,
Yeah.
um, of change,
Hmm.
and of trying to adjust
Right.
oneself, all these adjustments, and it was awkwardly done. You
Right.
saw like characters that I didn't like, didn't know where I fit, like Paul D,
Mhm.
trying to find place, right? They're
Yes.
trying to find place. And then but they were still who they were in their identity still, like they were still identified as not free, right?
Right. Right.
And
Even
someone
the
who's
name
not
Paul,
free.
like
Right.
Paul A, Paul F, Paul D. You're all
Exactly.
Paul.
Right.
You don't have a name.
You
You
don't
know.
have a name. You
Right.
don't you don't have a name. And then when Beloved, I mean with Jazz, we see movement. It's another movement, but of the Great Migration to
Mhm.
the city, where there was this space of like, I'm reinventing myself.
Right.
There's
Absolutely.
possibilities. There's something that's here. And but you understand, I think, even the difficultiness of relationship
Mhm.
between Joe and wife's name's forget it,
But
Violet.
yeah.
When he just broke and he witnessed that, just the
Mhm.
emasculation of a man,
Right.
you know, there
Yeah.
is this stuntedness
I
that,
think that's a very good point too. And when you say beloved is like that foundation, especially since that they do go from there. So we're in what
yeah,
1800s to 1920s, right?
1920.
And then I think Paradise is in the 70s or something like that. It's definitely 20th century,
Okay.
but later 20th century. But that's where the trauma sets in, and that's the root of the disfigured love. I think.
Mhm.
I think that we hear over and over Paul D's warning the people in the neighborhood: you can't love anything like that. You're not supposed to love like that because it's going to get taken away. Even
Right.
Baby Suggs, all her children gone except
Oh,
Haley, right? Um, Even Ella with her judgmental self, who in the end reveals, yes, I had a baby from the father son
right.
team
Yeah.
that's called the lowest that I didn't nurse, and it took 5 days to die. So she looks at Sethe's action of sawing her baby's neck and thinking, you love it too much, but I hate it enough to let it suffer and slowly die. And that is a very, that was like so eye opening. I don't know how I missed that
Yeah.
all these times. That there is another child murder in there. Not to mention, when we get to Jazz, we have Dorcas, who's also a child. Why are all these young women dying?
That's right.
What is that
What's going
saying,
on?
right?
Yeah.
Um, when we talk about symbolism in the book,
Mm.
I was looking at since you talk about the identity and the names, right? And I zeroed in on the Paul name. We know, of course, Denver got her name because of Amy.
Right.
Beloved, because that's what she could afford, even after selling her body to get the headstone. So you just see again this just taking and disrespecting of a woman's body. But Sixo, who laughs as he's being burned. And I thought about the significance of that, like the 60 million murdered during slavery, like lost in the Middle Passage. And
Mhm.
that name, Sixo, like there has to be a meaning there. And it got me wondering, I don't know the answer to this, but something now I've got to go back, I've got to go read a little more about this 30-mile woman. Like how is 30 something? I know 30 is significant biblically, right? About
Yeah.
the time of Jesus doing
Yeah.
his, before
Ministry.
yes, and I know like the Levitical priesthood
Mhm.
entered at 30. And I wonder if that means anything. I don't know. But I talked about like the trio. We have Sethe, Beloved, and Denver in the house.
Right.
Before that, we have Sethe, Denver, and Baby Suggs, whose name again I absolutely love how she named her so that her husband could find her. Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't know any Jenny. He knows Suggs, and then he
Right.
called me baby. So I'm
Right.
Baby Suggs. And I was like, oh my God, how
Love
beautiful.
it. I love it. I love it.
Um, but Then we have Paul, the three Pauls. Six
Yeah.
Saul is with him, but he's a little separate because he's not a brother.
Right.
And then even school teacher, his two
Teacher.
nephews, and Stamp Paid with his two nephews when he takes her across.
Yes.
Then the Stamp Paid.
I love that name.
Oh, how perfect is that?
It's just so perfect.
Did you catch Beloved Waiting on the Bridge?
Mm-hmm.
So go back to your mythology days, the river Styx.
Yeah,
right?
the river Styx.
And between life and death. So I was like, that must be a reference to that. Then Stamp Paid, the person who took people across the river Styx, you had to pay the money.
That's right.
So you had to pay a token. But here's Stamp Paid.
I'm paid. I'm free.
Love
yes.
that allusion in there. But it shocked me to find, yes.
Yes.
It shocked me to find that there is a literal river Styx in Ohio where this is set, and railroad bridge across it that Paul D. laid. Hello.
Really? Hello. I did not know that.
Yeah, so it goes, of course, you know, Toni Morrison is from Lorraine.
Yes.
So, of course, she gets a lot of this stuff. But
yes.
I think that when we really dig, there's so much digging to be done. And like you said, maybe that ability, it might be really a blessedness almost to be able to separate from this emotional thing and study the book. It might be a book to study. Like, this is slavery in America.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not cute. It's not, oh, that was the time then and everyone did. It was vicious. It was ridiculous. They had to dig a hole for her baby while they split her back open so that they did not disturb their product.
I think it is a book to be studied, but it's a book to be felt. And I think what I'm saying is,
mm-hmm.
I think that this is the first book, because I've read like so many slave narratives, and you know, I've read stories that are set in that time.
Mm-hmm.
This is, and I've had emotions, you know, like I can connect and empathize and feel, but this is the first book where I wasn't, it was like I was arrested. I wasn't allowed almost.
Mm-hmm.
Like I felt like, and at first I'm like, I don't like this book. And it's not because it's like it's too challenging or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why don't I like this book? Like, and I would put it down. And actually my youngest daughter was like, Mom, you don't like this book, do you? Because I know when you like the book, because you're all like, oh, I want to talk to you and I want to read you another book, you know? And I'm like, it's not because I don't like it. And I'm trying to talk with my husband. I'm like, but I feel like this was the first book where I felt a little small, tiny inch of what it must have felt like to have something and not be able to fully give yourself into it.
Yeah.
You know,
it made me cry in 3 different places. So
yeah, like just to have it, but so that's interesting. That's interesting because like you didn't see Sethe, or you didn't see these women. She wasn't broken like that.
Right.
You know?
Right. Mm-hmm.
It was almost
she was
like,
like
it was almost like a steeliness, like a numbedness.
Mm-hmm.
Like that my tears have been so gone.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I think
it was survival.
Mm-hmm. I think it was also the manifestation of freedom. She made a decision.
She made a sane
She chose.
decision. She
And
chose.
she was finished. I'm free,
Yes.
and my children will be free.
And
You
my
can do
children
this
are
to me,
free. And
but you will never do it to my children.
that's right.
And
And
that is the ultimate freedom, I think.
yeah, and I think and I love the fact that Toni Morrison in the foreword said it was a sane, she made it a decision in her sanity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was a certain
Yes.
peace when you
Yeah.
make a decision, even a hard one, but you're like, I've come to this decision in my sane and right mind. That is, it hits you in a different way, and there are consequences
There are
because you
consequences.
are shaped, like something changes inside of you
Oh,
when you make
absolutely.
that decision. There's something that's cut off. Like, one of the interesting relationships I wanted to talk about was Denver's relationship to Sethe
Uh-huh. Yeah.
as the surviving daughter.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And her kind of passage when I think it's in book 2, where she talks about how, beloved is hers, and um
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know
And how she has to protect her
how she
from
has
something.
her and things of that nature. um
Mm-hmm.
but we also get an idea, I think, for me, her chapter, or the focus of her in this chapter, gave me a clearer sense into the inner world, at least from Denver's perspective, of her relationship with her mother.
Right. Absolutely. And I think I I was upset about that because I feel like that relationship was tainted by others. I don't think that that was the natural thing. Her brothers, of course, warned her. She's gonna chop your head off. And when you tell a child who you share a bed with, and they are holding hands, and even your schoolmate knows this, it's like, how could she not? So she lives in fear that whatever that thing was, I think she says, that could make her kill her daughter might rise up again. And my thing is, they never went anywhere, Denver. That's how much she loves you, right? And that love is what is like stifling Denver. It keeps her locked in that house. And I think, like, we know her relationship with baby Suggs was one thing, and how that just changed the thing because there was no community. And I think that while we see that strained relationship, to say the least, it highlights the need for community. And I think in this case, for a Black community in particular. And without it, like, you're not going to make it. There's just no way. You have to have it. And we see in the end, she goes out and starts that, to the point that now she's the nurturer, right?
Correct.
And understands things as, this has to be done. And it's a whole different thing. Even when she's giving up on, like, mom's not good. She's not, but don't you say anything to her, right? When she sees Paul D in the end. So yeah, I think that is something, and maybe why she needs beloved so much, right? Because she needs someone, and it can't be her mom, because, well, her mom's a murderer.
Her mom's and I think that, I mean, in defense of Denver, and defense of Denver, who, it's like, there is the maternal and love, and when your parent is love, but when you evoke a kind of fear in your child,
yeah,
it's a hard thing to negotiate.
mm-hmm.
And when like, my mother actually did do this,
Right,
it is possible, right?
it's possible.
So, my dad would sometimes say,
It's
listen,
not probable.
I'll kill you and then I'll take you to the jail and said I did it. Okay, but he didn't actually, right?
Right.
I don't know him actually doing that,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
It's different when like, oh, someone actually, my mother actually did this to her child, and not just a child at any age, not a grown child who was talking
Right.
back, disappointed,
Falling
a
already.
brand new, innocent baby,
Yeah.
right? The
Yeah.
ability to do that, I can understand the deep, that's trauma. I would like,
Yes.
she's traumatized. And it's interesting the way in which she describes her father, who she didn't witness or know to make any decisions.
Mhm.
And
Right.
to her, my daddy was an angel man,
Right. Yes. And
you
he's
know,
coming back for me.
and he's coming back for me to rescue me from this. And then when I said, like, you don't make choices like that without consequences. I
Absolutely.
know that she knew there would be consequences, but the consequences also flooded Denver's life.
Hmm.
You know,
Everyone's Howard and Butler leave.
one of the consequences was isolation, right? Because of
Absolutely.
guilt and fear, because of also this allowing this baby, right,
Hmm.
to just exist, this
Hmm.
ghost exist, needing it to exist and making space with it, where other people were like, I'm not going to that house. I'm not talking. I would have been one of them too, Sean. I'm not, I'm, I'm not going to that house.
I would
I'm,
have.
you know, hey, why we come outside, right?
Yeah.
How you doing?
Um,
But
I think.
it impacted community. Um, so Denver grew up afraid. She wasn't completely confident in her
Hmm.
mother's ability to keep Denver safe. I
Right.
don't think it was an aspect of does she love me, but am I
Hmm.
safe with my mother?
Right. And see,
And
and that is so the right word, because that was her goal, to keep them safe. I
yes,
got to get good and make them safe. And I think it's not just Denver, of course, her sons leave as
yeah,
soon as they
um,
can. They're
yeah,
13 and 14 years old. These are children
mm-hmm,
out in barely freed America in the woods. I'm thinking, first of all, the level of courage and tenacity these people have is just made me feel so small and weak. Like, how
right,
could I do that? And I think what the horror is not that she killed her child. I don't think, because I don't know that anyone, but even maybe so, said, what should she have done? Like, what
right.
should she have done? And even the townspeople, it's not so much that, it was the pride. Like, oh, and then she came out with her nose up. Like, that's why we don't mess with her. Because after she did that, she was to come back and say, oh, Lord, I did that, and then it was, oh, we can get you. But in trying to save her children because of that love, she loses all of them.
She
One,
loses them.
that to the grave, but then the others right in her face that she can't
Yeah, and
receive their love fully because there's a fear. And that to me is the tragedy, even like with Denver's, you know, uh, uh, glorification of her dad, who is unable to endure seeing what Sethe actually went through. Like
right.
that to me. Paul D comes in and I'm gonna save the day. I'm gonna get this ghost out of here. I'm gonna fix stuff and sing and ooh, I'm gonna kiss your scar. You did what? Oh, I got to go. And now I'm gonna be a drunk at the thing. And as soon as it's safe to go, now I'm gonna come back.
Now
Like
I'm gonna come back.
that's
You know what? I just have a whole bunch of words for Paul D. And
that's what I was like, that's
I have a
if
whole
I
bunch of
judge
words for Paul
anybody,
D.
it would be him, but
Yes.
I can't judge him because when I think about what he went through, right? That bit in the mouth, oh Chantel, like I've seen the
First of all,
pictures.
when I
It
read
was
it,
that
it took
I
me a while to
never.
be like, wait, is that a physical thing he's talking
Yes,
about?
it's like
Yes,
that,
yes.
like
It is.
literally gagging, and I never took a moment to consider the what that must do to somebody. Like oh,
I feel like two things I want to say to the comments. One, the question that she's pondering, Morrison, is what does freedom mean to women? And what it doesn't mean to women is that you are able to ever be free of your children.
When we think about even Sethe's mother and the mark under her
Yes,
breast, like if we
yes.
look at everyone, so
Every woman, you're
yeah,
not free of your children, no matter if they die, if they live, if they run away, if you kill them, you are not free of your kids. That women are tethered in a completely different way than men. We see men able to come and go
right,
when
yeah,
they choose. You don't see that women were able to do that. They were not able to do that. And even in the running and the fleeing, so in the movement, it was with the children. You know what I'm saying? And that's not to judge the men. That's not the point of
yeah,
that out. I think it's just part of the nature of
mm-hmm.
what was possible. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? And
I
so,
absolutely agree. Yeah.
the witness and kind of like, like she didn't have a choice of what they did to her and stripped her away. She didn't have a choice, whereas her husband was able to make a choice.
Right.
Right. And she didn't have a choice to leave that house and to leave her child. In a sense, she didn't feel like she had the choice, whereas her sons and Paul D, they did have a choice.
Yeah.
They felt like they did have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it wasn't healthy, right? And even for Denver, as afraid of Denver was, Denver didn't feel like she had a choice.
That whole the women in this, you
Yeah,
really see the superpowers of them, even to the point of coming to that house after all of that. It's like you have to know when it's enough, when the meanness has to stop, and you've got to go and rescue, and face what they thought was a demon, and make it explode. And even while tackling her to the ground so she doesn't kill the good white man who's coming to pick him up. It's just absolutely fascinating. Oh yeah. Wow.
Yes, I love that. Yes, it is. It is fascinating. And I think that, one of these things that I was like, I'm thinking about, which is what Beloved also embodies is history, is his story. I'm wrestling with this last chapter, if you will. I'm wrestling, Sean, with it was not a story to pass on.
This is not a story to pass on.
I'm wrestling with there is a loneliness that can be rocked. Because I just am wrestling with that, because when you think of that rocked immediately,
oh yeah,
I think about a baby being rocked.
Yeah.
How I need to be rocked, how we need to be rocked. But there is the
rocking of the ship.
The rocking of the ship. This whole there is a loneliness that roams. No rocking can hold it down. It is alive on its own. This right here, I have to just sit with again and again and again. And then she goes repeatedly, it was not a story to pass on. Again, she repeats it 3 times.
I feel almost like that is ironic, because of course, number one, the story's been passed on.
It's passed on.
300 pages.
That's right. It's passed on. Right.
But who decides it's not a story to pass on? That is the question.
Whose is it? And I'm also interested in the verb. Okay. Yes. Did you see the verb change? So the first 2 is past tense. It was not a story to pass on. It was not a story to pass on. And then it goes to this definitive is not a story to pass on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay.
And what is the story? The
And what is
loneliness.
the story?
The
Is it the
loneliness is the
loneliness?
story
Is
that should not be passed. I think.
it's
Um,
and to pass means a
mhm.
whole lot of things. What are we passing on? Like, are there some things that don't need to be passed on? I'm
Yeah.
thinking trauma. I'm
Mhm.
thinking, you know, just also some of the guilt, maybe,
Mhm.
that we have. Like, like what are some things that it's like this
Right.
doesn't need to continue, right?
I think
This when
when I look at that, I'm so
generation
glad you
goes
pointed that out, and you're having to sit with it because I've never experienced loneliness like that. Thank the Lord.
yeah,
Like I've never had to.
right.
That I was not deprived of love in my family life because we were able to stay together. If you remember Paul D being fascinated by those free people who'd been
Yes.
generations together, and even the Native Americans. But like each time we see that loneliness there, and then bringing in how quickly she was forgotten.
That I just yeah,
That
I was
yeah,
just yeah.
and
So
that when we
and
look
they
at
forgot her. Yes.
they forgot her. We forget her because when I think about the attack on history right now,
Yes.
that I mean, our nation is saying this is not a story to pass on. The isolation that occurred and the separation, even baby sons holy,
Mhm.
set apart, sanctified, you are over there. The isolation that occurred from the institution of slavery was evil. It traumatic, yes, but evil even more.
Yes.
And if beloved embodies the totality of the slave experience from the Middle Passage to 1865, we see her story like it wasn't something to pass on. It's not something to pass on. Like we can't even wrestle with it because it's that horrible. Like we've cut ourselves, got our necks off. And, we have this thing. And I wonder if that's what it's getting at. I don't know.
I also would say too, and oh gosh, we're almost right at end, but here's also a way that I was thinking about this.
Mhm.
I could be off. So tell me your thoughts. So I looked up beloved and like what beloved means. And from
Mhm.
the Bible, a biblical definition, it's a person or group who is deeply loved by God, most often referring to believers in Christ and Jesus himself, right?
Yep.
And
This is
so,
our
and
beloved son in whom I'm well
for my
pleased.
beloved, like, as a mom, and I talk about my girls, I call them beloved, my beloved.
Yeah.
And when we see this sacrifice, which is really what happened to save this act of killing this child, is a
Yep.
sacrifice to save. And
Save
and
all the other
talked
children
about
in
the
the house.
Trinity, and you talked
Yep.
about the three of the sacrifice to save
Yeah.
humanity.
That's
And
shedding of blood.
what one of the things that we're left with, right, is or as Christians, people who believe, who are Christians, is remember. And we're like sheep. We don't
Right.
remember, but it's
Hmm.
this in remembering, and do this in remembrance of me, right?
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
we as humans really struggle with memory. And when it says, so in the end, they forget her too. Tootoo. So
Hmm.
also, like,
Right.
also forgotten, the things that we're also forgotten. And remembering seems unwise here.
Yes.
It's unwise. And I think it really kind of has us grappling with even the different ways in which I think of people have, like, or, about, like, even from what do we remember about Jesus's story and what are the parts that we
Hmm.
don't, you
Right.
know? we remember, oh, he died, but we may not remember that he also, hung around the margins and was with the least of these, with
The
some of our,
old, we don't want to remember those things.
you don't want to remember
Tell what
those,
you have, give it to the poor.
right? Because that might seem unwise to
That's
remember
a lie.
those things, because it might inform us differently,
Mm-hmm.
right? And challenge us differently. And I was thinking about even with our own journey as Black people, and how I know, like, when how much of stories of slavery and what happened, like my
Mm-hmm.
grandparents didn't want to talk about it,
Right. Yeah.
because
Mm-hmm.
they were headed this way. And
Right.
so it wasn't a whole bunch of stories. Actually, there were
Mm-hmm.
certain things that it's like, don't ask about that. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Don't, because it was so painful.
Yeah.
And it was hard to remember. So I think, like, we have these things about what we shouldn't remember, what we shouldn't pass on, who should pass it on
Right.
also, you know and also, what does passing look like, this word of passing, because that
Mm-hmm.
is loaded in our community. Who can pass, you know
Right.
what I'm saying? Also, from an economic perspective, who can pass, meaning I'm distant from that.
Yeah. Oh
You know,
yeah. Yeah.
I'm distant going on. No, this is not a story
Right.
I'm gonna pass on.
Right. Right.
From this, it was not a story, almost like it was very distant, very separate, like
Mm-hmm.
very third person, to more, no, this is not a story I'm
Right.
gonna pass on. And I
Yeah.
think we're left with the reader, is
Yeah.
this a story I will pass on? you know
Ah.
that's how I was. And I
Yeah.
got
That's
like
a good
that
twist.
because
Yeah.
that little dialogue kind of thing
Yeah.
that happened, where you get this dialogue going back, and it just felt like this ending, that the story then went to me. And it was
Mm-hmm.
like a dialoguing with me with these refrains. And
Yeah.
although it wasn't a question, it was, it's not a story to pass on. It's not a
Yeah.
story to pass on. This
Yeah.
is not a story to pass on. Is it a
Yeah.
story to pass on? And then it ends
The
me
way you are struggling with
being
that
called
is,
beloved. I don't know.
yeah.
That's
Oh
just,
no, no, I love it. So the way you're going with that is what I'm doing with that poetry
yeah,
section in there. So those are two I'm going to go back and zero in
yeah,
again. Like,
yeah.
I need more, I need more, I need more. And that's always, I hope we're gonna do paradise.
We are going to do Paradise. We are going to do Paradise. I don't even
Good.
know what to expect with Paradise. I loved reading. I thank you so much for having me read Jazz first. That was
Okay.
wisdom for me.
I feel like this
That
is
was
so
wisdom.
heavy. This
That
is heavy.
that
It's
was
heavy.
that
Yeah.
was
I think this
yeah.
and the bluest eye are heavy. They deal
Okay.
with the real.
Okay.
So you're
So
very welcome. But thank you for having me go back and look at it and fall in love with them all over again,
yes.
and for getting this perspective. My mother was a Maya Angelou fan. Like, we've debated, she couldn't do this one just because of the mammary rape. She was like, I
Yeah.
can't get past that. I had that reaction to Bigger Thomas and Native Son. Like, as soon
One
as
of
he
my
was
favorite books.
disposing, I closed the book. I'm not reading this because
One
I
of my
can't.
favorites.
So yeah.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. I can read about the woman's drama. You can read
Yeah.
about the man's. Like, that's interesting.
It is,
That's
it
very
is, it is
interesting.
interesting. It is interesting. Yeah, Bigger Thomas, all of my kids meet Bigger Thomas. You know,
Yeah. Oh, really?
before
I'm
they go
like,
to college, there's just some, like, you got it, like
all right.
bigger Thomas, and the, yeah,
Yeah,
being
Bigger
trapped like
Thomas. I was like, oh, you poor thing. It's over for you, kid. I can't even watch that happen. But
right.
I see we are
Yeah,
at time.
we are at
Paradise it
time, my friend.
is.
Thank you
Okay.
so much for joining me tonight. And Sean, I don't know if you know, but this is the very last Books with Friends for the year. So you have closed out my Books with
Okay.
Friends season. I'm so excited. I'm going to miss these, but I was like, I need to take a pause and, kind of get myself geared up for next year. So next year, we're going to come back. Maybe we'll start it off with Paradise,
Yes.
if you will.
All
So we
right.
can close up this this trilogy, but I just think that it's such an important story to in the season with. And so much to think about it. So for you guys out there who have read Beloved, I would love for you to comment on, Sean and I's conversation. Help us, give us thoughts, give us your insight, and also questions. We would love to engage with that. If you have not read Beloved yet, please go out and do so. Read it. Read it. Read it. Read it. I did discover today that there's like a movie. I have not watched it. Don't watch it. Read it. Read it first. Read it first, because I know it's not as good as the book. And then watch the movie. Like, do that. And before we go, I just want to have you not to forget to like this video if you have found it insightful, engaging, if it's given you something to think about. Please like it. And if you have not done so already, you have to subscribe to the channel so that we won't miss each other in future conversations. And with all of that, I just want to also give a big shout out to my amazing producer, Montaigne, who helped make all of this possible. Thank you so much. And we will be back for more Books with Friends in 2026. I cannot believe that it will be 2026. It has a little ring to it, though, like 2026, for more books, more discussions. Hopefully we'll kick off the year with Paradise, and that it will, be a different, I don't know, but I'm here for it. And from me and from Sean, thank you so much for reading with us, reflecting with us, and being a part of this community. And we will see you in the new year. Bye. Thank you.